Hey guys, so for this part of the tutorial, we are going to now start talking a little bit more about turbo and how to properly use it and such, okay? Now this will be more for like beginners and intermediate players because there are advanced ways to use turbo, but this is just for, let's say, assuming you're a beginner or intermediate player. Most beginners and maybe even some intermediate players, when they get a turbo, they just say, oh, I got a turbo, I'm just going to use it. All right, usually a beginner does that, but an intermediate player may just say, okay, well, I'm just going to use my turbo at a certain spot. So I'm just going to be like, okay, I'm just going to use it right over here, okay? That's probably what an intermediate player will do. But if you really want to get the most out of this for using your turbos, or at least good habits of how to use it, what you want to do is you want to make it a rule of thumb that you only use a turbo if you are going to be stacking it with a big drift, or if you're going to be hitting multiple boost pads, or even one or two boost pads, okay? But you always want to stack it with something. You don't want to just waste your turbo just because you have it, because when you don't have any additional boost or anything, you're only going to get like, I think 400 kph from your turbo. Maybe I think you get 500 max with the 300 plus the 200 or whatever when you finish it properly. But the thing is, you don't get the most for your turbo if you're just using it plain as is. You always want to see if you can stack a drift with it when using it, or hit some boost pads when using it, or both. If you can drift and you use your turbo and you're going to be hitting boost pads in whatever order, you just got to make sure you it's either two of the three. You don't want to use at least two of the three. You don't want to just use turbo plain. Okay, I know I repeated that, but it is important to know that because it's too easy to make that mistake. So I'm going to demonstrate here. So if I'm doing a big drift, so hold on, I'm going to back up a little bit. So if I do a big drift like this, so here, let me see. So I start drifting, do another drift, I turbo, release, and then turbo. See, I got a lot of speed, and then I hit some boosters. That is actually a preferred or a better way of doing it than just using it plain. All right. There are more advanced strategies with how to properly use turbo, but I have to go over a couple of things first before I demonstrate those. But just make it rule of thumb that when you're going to use turbo, you got to make sure that you're stacking it with a drift and or hitting some boost pads. So let's see, I got a drift meter here, boom, turbo with it. See, I went almost 1200. Okay. That is kind of how you maximize on a basic level. That is the way how you maximize your speed. You always want to stack turbo with a drift or boost pads or both.